Hello and welcome to From No Crypto to No Crypto. This is Blockchain Wayne bringing you another cryptocurrency podcast. Today's episode brought to us by Concierge Club, mobile private key wallet, and point of sale solution. Got a special episode today. Today we're going to be interviewing Joe Blackburn. Joe Blackburn is the president and founder of Crypto Coin Trader, also known as CCT. Many of you may follow them on Facebook. They have a Facebook group with well over 115,000 members, if I'm not mistaken. So want to intro Joe. Joe, thank you for coming and joining me on today. I know you're a very busy guy, and we've been working on trying to get this interview together for a little while now.
Wayne, my man, thank you for having me. First off, I like your intro, dude. It's cool. Blockchain Wayne, bro. I love hearing that for you, man. You're doing good things. Country boys from the South, we got to hold it down.
Yeah, you're right. Cool. So, Joe, I got some questions for you today. I know, a lot of people may be curious, but for me, I see a lot of what you're doing in the space as well. And really, for me, you and I have talked about it being about social responsibility of the crypto community, just to be able to break down barriers, make things easier. So I don't want to go too deep, but kind of tell me, what piqued your interest about crypto and really got you to where, I mean, you're building your own project over there, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but what put those wheels in motion?
Yeah, Wayne. I think both me and you, just culturally, being from the region we are in the South, we can relate where it's not like some thriving technological hub that we're just exposed to stuff like this all day. I was fortunate enough. I actually first heard about Bitcoin when I was in the military. I was in the Army at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was actually getting out, had a little extra money, at the time. And I mean, when I say little, I mean, it was a little, less than $1,000. And, I thought about it, and back then it wasn't like going Coinbase and just buy, you actually had to go find somebody, PayPal them some money, and then hope that this wallet that I'd never heard of or knew how to do was going to work, but I didn't really take it seriously. And it was really just truly just kind of a guess and throw some money in there. Maybe it'll stick somewhere, and fortunately, I didn't forget my keys and I was able to kind of remember that. But, to really answer your question, for me, early on, blockchain was just kind of a lottery ticket. Bitcoin was all I knew. It wasn't until 2016 that I even had heard of Ethereum. But I just started taking crypto really seriously at that point. And, just the small things that went in motion very early on to get to where I am today were just probably some things that you can just relate on. You heard it from a guy, heard it from a friend, his wife was telling him about it and she told somebody else. And next thing you know, I know about it, and it's just one of those really unique adventures almost, to get to where we are. And I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people all the time, my first crypto transaction, I bought Bitcoin on an ATM in New Orleans. And that's about 40 miles from where I live. So it was a buddy of mine telling me I need to buy Bitcoin and then finding an ATM on an app so we can drive to put some money in a machine in a shady gas station in New Orleans. So, yeah.
Oh, man.
After that, it's like, after that, I was like, what did I get into? Now I really need to figure out what I just bought.
Exactly right. It's just, just looking back at even the way that we've advanced and have the luxury, and a lot of people hate Coinbase. I personally don't. I think they're a wonderful entry and exit point to make it easy on people, which is one of the themes that you'd already spoken about. But, just looking back at the way that people used to have to do business, it was so, trust. You had to trust everybody, and in a world where we find it, so very, very difficult to trust people at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I've been, I think, in your Facebook group for probably since January, but how did that thing evolve so quickly? I mean, there's a lot of groups out there and that thing just, like I said, you've got 115,000 members. What you said earlier, 80,000 plus active, active members every day. So how did that evolve into what it is today?
Sure. Social media in general is just one of those beasts that can't really be explained in a lot of ways. We were very fortunate when we created our own group, and officially we've only been around since April of 2017. And so it puts us just over a year and a half old. Very, very proud and privileged to have started a group, to have the help and support from the moderators and the influencers that have stepped up and helped at different times. But, this is what I attested to, is that people have been looking for a place to congregate, I guess you can say, and we're a digital community just from the core roots of blockchain. So, I don't want to make it more than what it was. We just provided some sort of entertainment coupled with content, coupled with, with arguments, discussions, love, kindness, and even generosity at times. And so I just felt like people to this moment still it resonates with people that they enjoy that as a culture and a community more so than just a Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I saw from going through all the groups was there was a lot of I guess there was a lot of trash out there, a lot of junk, a lot of
Sure.
scams being pushed, and that's what really kind of attracted me to the group when I looked at it was that you had a group of admins and moderators that really kept it clean. So.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that too, because that's one of the things that we find most important is to offer. And I hate to use the word safe space. That's kind of overused and really underappreciated, especially when it's used correctly. But when you go through crypto and whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, Reddit, etc., you're exposed to so much trash, as you mentioned, and scams and Ponzi schemes, and among other things, just like things that just should not exist in this space, but will because it's a land of sharks. There's a lot of people looking to take advantage of people. And the one thing that some people don't like CC. There is a certain dynamic in there, and I understand, and I respect everybody's opinion. If you don't like it or you don't like me, maybe I get on their nerves, whatever it might be. You can at least come in there and say, I'm not going to be exposed to scams. I'm not going to be exposed to opportunities for people just to rip my money out. We're not going to be allowing things of that nature to ever exist. And anybody who does is immediately removed and banned. And that's really kind of to answer your first question. That's probably has a lot to do with our success as well. But let me tell you, I remember our first 1,000 members, and I was hoping one day we would get to 1,000, let alone, within a month of creating it. And it was just that real boom in that moment in time back in April and March and then April, obviously, but really June and July and leading up to the Bitcoin Cash drama, not the drama that's happening now, but the drama that happened, I guess it was in August. And then we had the substantial bull run of November, December, which, of course, we all remember. And unfortunately, it's just a distant memory at this point. Hopefully that we'll get back to very soon. But regardless, I've known that you've been in the group for some time. We've become friends through my group, and I'm not only proud, but it's an honor to be on your show too.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Thank you. Now you mentioned the bull run and then the bear run, right? We've been seeing this bear market since really into December all the way through this whole year, and it's been brutal, especially this week. Just the last couple of days. But and I know it's a lot around belief. So what would you recommend to the new person to do? They're looking at this thing and all they've seen is the mighty fall from 20,000 down to 5,500 right now. So what would you say? Because obviously, people are still looking at it and trying to determine. I had a buddy yesterday text me, and he was still kind of tiptoeing, deciding whether or not to throw money in because he's scared.
Sure. Crypto's gotten this reputation of a lottery ticket the same way that I viewed it when I was first entering the space a long, long time ago. It's not an undeserved reputation. There was a lot of madness, excitement, joy at the times for the great success that the crypto market saw. And then we were exposed to the downside of that. There is an obvious distrust from a lot of the traditional investors in the traditional markets of the cryptocurrency market. You can compare it to so many of these quote unquote bubbles, and one of my favorites is the .com bubble. If you look at the .com bubble, it was very, very similar, and just at least in hype and excitement, and people were spending all this money. VCs were all up in this, and then obviously they were unsustainable. As crypto goes, this is a digital asset. Digital assets will not get smaller. They won't become less likely to be used. They will just become more and more relevant. They'll be more and more massively adopted, as we say so often, and they'll become more and more part of your regular day without you ever knowing about it, right? So, what I say to the new person who's considering potentially entering into the blockchain and crypto markets is that take it as any other investment. Bitcoin is not something that's going to make you super rich with $1. It's not going to make you super rich with $6. It's not going to make you super rich with $1,000. $1,000, even with what we consider this bear market. Beginning of 2017, we were at $800, $900. I think at one point the low was a little under 700. The fluctuations of 20-30% is nothing for crypto. But if you're in it for the long term, go look at the charts. If you're going to invest for 1 month, don't do this. Do not invest into crypto for 1 month. Go look at the charts. Go tell me what it was like when it first started. Go tell me what it was like year 1, year 2, year 3. And now January 1st or January 3rd is the 10-year anniversary of Bitcoin actually being minted on the blockchain. So if you go look at that transition, you're going to have sideways markets, you're going to have bear markets, and you're going to have bull markets. But if you go look at where we are today compared to where we started, which was, I guess essentially under a penny, with what it cost to mine a Bitcoin when it first started. But, if you took the average price of Bitcoin over years, and I probably should know this number, but I would guess it's probably somewhere still around, $900 to $1,300. And, that just shows where we've come from the beginnings to where we are. And somehow we still exist. And somehow we're higher than we were 2 years ago. And even, a year and like a month ago, we were still higher than where we are today. So that would be what I would say to the new person as far as, are you skeptical? I'm not telling anybody to get in, that would be, I've done that before and it's burned me. I bought in and it was the wrong time to buy in before, but in the long run, it wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. So it's not a month-long investment. It's a traditional investment. That's the way I view it. And I think as people start to understand the blockchain more and its use case and why it actually is the future of probably every digital transaction at least for the next 50 to 100 years, unless something better comes along, which potential, but not anytime soon. That's really my statement. Hope I didn't go too long-winded there.
No, that was pretty good. I tell people all the time, one Bitcoin will always be worth one Bitcoin.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I had an eye-opening experience several weeks ago. I watched I don't know if you saw the series, The Hidden Secrets of Money. And
I've heard of it, but I have not. I didn't see it.
It just kind of added to the research I've done over the last year, which is just really studying what happens with fiat currency and the history of fiat currency, which is what we spend every day. With the paper money not really being backed by anything. So a lot of people are jumping in just to hedge against the dollar. So now you've had your ear to the market and quite a few projects. I've seen you interview quite a few different people. So most people look at 2018 and they see bear market declining prices, but it hasn't been the case when you look at infrastructure going in and projects being built. So I don't really want to elaborate on one specific project, but what kind of things have you seen kind of in what's going in the infrastructure and into crypto and blockchain this year?
Solid analysis there. I don't think blockchain has ever been more widely used up to this point. I mean, you could make the argument that in the amount of people that are in right now, we have grown not just substantially, we have grown exponentially. It's not just buying a Bitcoin that enters you into the blockchain. The blockchain is, as you said, there's an infrastructure, there's an economy of its own, but it's more so this. It's being used by major technological companies on a scale that people don't even want to think about right now. If they're not already implementing it, they are preparing for that implementation. If they have not entered into the space one way or the next, whether it's an institutional investor, VC, they're hearing about it, they're talking about it, and they're waiting for that opportunity because everybody is curious. That curiosity is going to lead into entry, minus some catastrophe that we're not, prepared for. I don't see a way that this doesn't continue. Developers are so not just on a small level, there's so few of them compared to the amount of jobs that exist right now. I mean, I tell people all the time, you don't have to become a blockchain developer in college to become a blockchain developer. But if you could be ahead of the game and start this in college and even basically grab the concepts of why this should exist, what it should exist for, you will have a job minimum as soon as you get out of college, if not before. It's just a lovely opportunity for people to kind of be on the forefront. So really, to answer your question, it's very broad and generic, and I could probably talk about this particular topic for 30 minutes, but as projects go themselves, there's just more of them. They're becoming more and more usable as well, and the expectations of the community are becoming more and more reasonable, and the lofty expectations of 1,000 times gains and overnight at times have subsided, and rightfully so. It's just that's not a sustainable market, but it for sure is. It's continuing its growth, at least on the business and introduction to business side.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I heard, I was at Crypto Invest Summit in LA a few weeks ago, and Steve Wozniak was one of the speakers. Now he's a big proponent for blockchain. And he made the comment of, you don't want to inundate blockchain with stuff that blockchain doesn't make better. So, don't create projects that, that really, like, blockchain doesn't do anything other than you can say it's on the blockchain.
Sure.
What are your thoughts around? Have you seen most of the projects that you've seen been like? I guess most people think when you create a project or create a company, it's to solve a problem, right? Is most of what you've seen going to solve some real world problems?
Ben, that's a seriously good point. I applaud your ability to kind of recognize that as almost as an issue, and this is something I think you even mentioned to me offline at one point too in our conversations. But real world application isn't always perfectly suited for real world accessibility. Like people built cars before they built roads, and I don't blame people for trying to put things on the blockchain. I do blame people for trying to raise, $30 million to put something that would cost them $200,000 to do on blockchain, and then, still have a token that they're trying to make sure the value goes up, and now they're sitting on $15 million. To answer your question, is it really fair to say that something shouldn't be on the blockchain that has a use case today off the blockchain, but we don't have the roads per se, as in if they're the car? But, it's a really honest and genuine look into what actually isn't, ready. The world's not ready for it. So if you're 5 years ahead of your time, it's just simply not going to work. And you may go broke waiting for that fifth year to show up where it actually is time. Without bashing any particular projects, which I could probably go into some detail on that. And I know some of these team leaders and these projects, they come to me, whether it's for consultancy work or potentially hey, can I get an interview on CCT, or hey Joe, I just want your opinion on this. What do you think the community would think? Can I get some feedback from the community? I'm pretty aware of the way that the market's shifting, and I can say this: for all the things of 2017 that probably should have been on blockchain, and there was plenty of them, it's becoming fewer and fewer and harder for these companies to actually get themselves attention, because nobody's taking them seriously at this point. The dynamic and the social recognition of what works and what doesn't, it kind of runs the show these days. If people think you're a joke or a scam, it's very quick to pick up that reputation, and good projects get labeled that all the time. And I feel bad for a lot of them too, and I do my best to clean that up, and without censoring, should I say. But nevertheless, to your point, the real world application to me is the most important thing, but it needs to be relevant. And I've had to learn lessons along that, just in my investing habits, and also, with my responsibilities as an influencer too. I definitely want my community to be aware and also educated on why and why not things may or may not work.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some scams, but there's also been some legitimate projects that just don't work out. That's not blockchain. That's real world anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on that note, sorry to interrupt. This is something I try to point out to people. A lot of people do blame companies last year. It wasn't the company's fault only. Investors were buying in because of. Sorry about that. I think I've dropped off for a second. Investors were buying into these projects because they thought they were going to get significant returns, and then when that stopped and when that well ran dry, people all of a sudden, oh, let's hold them accountable. Let's get mad at them. Hey, that's a collective blockchain issue. That was not just simply projects' faults. Now, ultimately, they're responsible for coming out with a product. But if you go to Silicon Valley, sometimes it takes 5-10 years on a regular basis for startups to start being profitable. In a world where blockchain necessarily doesn't really have its foothold in the tech door yet, I can't blame these projects that have good intent, and they're just being thrown into the fire, just burning up, just waiting, trying to get everything they can. But the social pressures mount up, and sometimes it's not fair to them. And I don't want to act like I'm only defending them. I just see it from different perspectives than maybe the average person looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got a lot to learn from history. You mentioned the dot-com bubble earlier, and I compare to that a lot in the past because, that bubble did, quote unquote burst, but what emerged from that was some great companies. But there's also some decent companies that went away that just couldn't make it. They weren't, whether it was just poor timing, poor management, just wrong place, wrong time, too early for their time, like you mentioned. So there's a lot of things that can happen. One last thing before we wrap up. You had mentioned to me, and you'd even made a post on the Facebook group about CryptoCoinTrader.com. You're building a platform.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of things that you really don't want to leak out until they're ready to be launched. But what can you tell us about CryptoCoinTrader? The site or platform you're building, and what your vision is for that.
Yeah, thank you for asking too. Of course, we'll be able to go more in detail about this. Maybe you'll bring me back on to talk about it, at some point. But
Yep.
with just the basic, outline of what we want to do is crypto's missing that Yahoo Finance, that ESPN, that even that Nike branding. I mean that credible, know what you know what you're getting, know who you're getting. And even if you disagree with opinions, or if you disagree with a presentation, or they think that maybe they're biased towards a certain team. I mean, if you go and look at the body of work, you can see that these companies, or whatever it might be, whether it's Yahoo Finance or whether it's ESPN, or whatever it might be, they've been there for the long haul, and they've proven themselves. Crypto doesn't have that right now. There are some good companies doing it, and there's some good news agencies. And without mentioning one, because I'll forget another, it's not like there's not credible and good resources to go and find out this information. But what I notice consistently is that there's just not that ability to be, really, I mean, for lack of a better word, just vetted as a proper news source. The investigative journalistic, mentality of potentially, even in here, since we're in the United States, we can go look, and we might disagree with Fox News, we might disagree with CNN or MSNBC based on political opinions. But these news sources, they exist. They're sometimes biased, but they're not necessarily outright lying. I mean, politics is probably the wrong example to use here. But what I'm getting at is getting that truth, but also having opinions and having the ability to still enjoy this space is missing, in my opinion. It's becoming more negative, and it's becoming it's almost a cesspool of just people fighting with each other over what's true and what's not. There is a way to fix that. There's different ideas that we have, and our long-term vision is not a 6-month vision. It's a 5-year, 10-year plan that we have here to enhance and bring credibility to the space. Not to mention, bring information about coins and tokens, and as this market evolves, who's actually ready for the evolution of this market? Well, right now nobody's really had to be. It's kind of just been a wait and see, play the market, and there's no real way to be ahead of it. But I don't believe that that's going to be true for forever. I think there's a way for us to be more aware and in tune with not just each other, but with other projects being in tune with one another. I want to bring out a little bit more of a social presence for these projects and these groups, to have a presence on a social media platform to an extent that allows us to actually watch, and the ones that are doing it right are going to love this. If you're doing the right things and you're working hard, this is a place where you can promote your activities. You can promote the amount of time you're spending with this. And it's not done on a shilly basis where you should go buy this coin right now because this is coming out. It's just to verify and to make significant, choices, take significant information. If you're not taking every decision you make as an investor as a significant choice, you're not doing it right. In fact, you're doing it exactly the way they want you to do it on the market, so that they can take your money. Be smart, and we want to offer the opportunity to help that in being smart, as well as, hey, look, and Wayne, you can probably agree with me on this. To me, it's nothing against Telegram as a means of communication on a messenger, just like Facebook Messenger. But the fact that that's an industry standard is shameful. How do you go tell your grandma or your mom or your dad, or even your brother who's, traditional investor, hey, this is where you find out the information. Let me see the Telegram link. They open it up, they see memes, and they see people fighting with each other, calling each other bad names. I mean, that's embarrassing. That's never going to bring us to the next step. So, if you can kind of take where I see certain problems, of course, that's a, 3, 4, 5 minute, explanation of the problems. You can kind of see where we're going with it to fix it, and, hopefully I know we'll do a good job. Hopefully the vision is what the public would want to use. And I look forward to, I look forward to using it myself.
Awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to see more. And like I said, yeah, we'll get you back on to talk some more about it when you're getting closer to launch. I know you've probably got some secrets you don't want to let out just yet. So we can definitely do an update on this down the road. So
absolutely, Wayne. Absolutely.
Yep. And Joe, that's really all the questions I have. Do you have anything else you'd want to add before we end the episode, man?
Yeah, actually, Wayne, I'm real proud of the way that you present yourself. And, I know I think it's really cool how that you keep your podcast shorter than most. You know, you're not only in it just I mean, you're not in it at all for, you know, really even the publicity. You really just want to do something good for the community, and I appreciate that role that you serve. We do the same thing in a lot of ways. We try to help make things easy, as you pointed out, for people to at least to bring home basic information, and even if it is considered basic, you know, it's not basic to people who are just starting. And you know, it's easy for us to forget as people who've been in the space for enough time where it's easy. So I appreciate what you're doing, man. I know your audience and your listeners appreciate that, and most importantly, thanks for just being a good dude and a friend.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. You know, same to you. Appreciate everything you've done for the community, and really just, I definitely see a lot happening. What I love about the crypto space is there's a lot of collaboration going on. You know, a week ago, I was in New Orleans getting interviewed by another podcast crew, and just kind of working together on different projects. So that's one thing I tell everybody. There's too much growth potential for this whole space, that there's really no room for competition. It's all about collaboration.
Absolutely, man. Well, I wish you the best. I know that you'll continue doing a great job. There's no doubt. You know, you always got a home in CCT, and you know, Wayne, it's only a matter of time until I meet you down there in New Orleans, and
Yeah.
you know, whether we grab a drink or, you know, we just, you know, hang out and drink coffee, whatever it might be. You know, we got to do that soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some conferences coming up too, so we can talk about those too.
Absolutely.
All right, Joe. Well, thanks again for joining us, and everybody, I want to thank you for listening in, and that is it. We'll catch you on the next episode.